Hello, how are you today? We are doing Module 4 Respectful Communication from a Mental Health section. This Module 4 includes Lesson 6 and Lesson 7. The first one is Communication Dynamics. Communication with individuals with mental health disorder is very challenging because individuals with mental health disorder are preoccupied with other issues. Some people have hallucinations, delusions, like that. Withdrawn or depressed to the point that talking is very difficult sometimes. Experiencing hallucinations or delusions and having trouble concentrating. In here, it seems like a caregiver is communicating with a client. Look in here, it seems like someone is very angry, someone is very stressed out. You know, Even though communication is challenging, caregivers need to make sure to always tell the person in a non emotional, non judgmental way that the behavior is inappropriate. Effective communication with individual with mental disorder requires your basic skills like that. You see, they are listening. This one is the client is talking and the caregiver is listening. So to do effective communication, the caregiver need to have basic skills like actively listening to the other person, consistently matching the nonverbal expression with the meaning of what the caregiver is saying, or doing the best to ensure messages are understood and accepted. Listening is the key in communication. You always need to listen. Listening requires more than hearing words. It requires a desire to understand another human being, an attitude of respect, a willingness to stay open to seeing things from another point of view. Caregivers have to be willing to hear to what a client with mental disorder has to say. All clients want to be heard. All of them, they want to be heard. Make time to listen to the person. Encourage the person to explain what he or she is thinking or feeling. Use phrases such as, "Tell me more. What happened then? What did the problem start? How can I help you?" Like that. Listen without interrupting. Allow the person to talk without showing shock or surprise or expressing judgment. Reflect meaning. Put what you think you heard in your own words and repeat it back is reflecting. Pay attention to your personal voices. Empathy and compassion. Empathy is our feeling of awareness toward other people's emotions and an attempt to understand how they feel. It's putting yourself in someone else's position and feeling what they are feeling. Compassion, on the other hand, is an emotional response to empathy and to recognize the suffering of others and then take action to help. They go one after the other, hand in hand. To practice empathy and compassion makes the effort to put your own cares and worries away for a while when taking care of individuals with mental health disorders. Actively pay attention to what the other person says. Nonverbal communications are not verbal, so you have to watch your nonverbal communication skills. Like, what's your posture like? You always need to maintain an open and relaxed posture. And what's your gesture? You need to avoid exaggerated movements, and your facial expression need to match the meaning that you are saying. In personal space, communicate at eye level. These are very important. And the verbal communication is important too. So you have to, when you talk with the clients, you need to be specific. When you talk one at a time, one idea at a time, and do not rush. And share your feeling in a non-judgmental way. Use I statement. I. You have to include I, the word I, on your statement. That shows you are taking responsibility. express positive feeling. Maintain your normal tone and pitch. Do not discuss anything when you are angry. Ask what you can do to help. If you do not understand, ask the resident to repeat. It's okay to do that. Now let's do tips of communication. The first one we're doing is about anxiety. Anxiety often accompanied by irrational thinking, such as fears that are not based on reality. So when we are communicating with anxiety people, we have to remain non-judgmental. We need to allow the person to talk, and we need to avoid giving advice or directing the conversation, and use active listening skills. And we need to help the person redirect the attention away from anxious thoughts as much as possible. Now, how do we help a person with a depression? A person with depression may have overall feeling of negativity and may respond to you in that way. Do not take it personally or feel discouraged. So when you're communicating with this kind of people, you need you do not take any negative behaviors personally, or do not get discouraged. If the client feels withdrawn or do not discouraged. Ask the client to share what the client's feeling. Yeah, actively listen all the time. Use calm and reassuring tone. Tell the client you are not alone. I'm here to support you, like that. How do we talk with bipolar people? When we are communicating with bipolar people, reduce stimulation, set limits and have structure, deal with immediate issues, use direct and consistent language. Let the person know when the client problem becomes problematic. Watch for verbal and nonverbal signs of anger and take steps to ensure safety. In schizophrenia, when you're talking with them, you need to find a way, the natural way of hallucinating and delusion in case there are safety issues. What are they hallucinating? And sometimes you need to change the subject to a topic that's based on reality and keep the conversation on reality based. Do not argue with the client if the client has paranoid ideas or delusional content. Seeking clarification. Clarification means action of making a statement or situation less confusing and more clear. It involves asking questions or occasionally summarizing what the individual has said. If you don't understand what the client is saying, you can ask clarification. Doing this shows that you are interested in the conversation. Some examples of clarification that I had in here are over here. All questions must be non-judgmental. Remember that. I am not quite sure I understand what you're saying. I don't feel clear about the main issue here. When you said that, what did you mean? Can you repeat it, please? That's how you do clarification questions. Now we are going to see triggering and how do we prevent challenging behaviors. When communicating, we need to be aware of the meaning of our words. It can have an impact on others. Negative trigger words may push the client into reaction through challenging behaviors. Knowing the individual and their trigger is important, and document these triggers for others is so important. Some word triggers include words that may create defensiveness in other people, like always, never, consistently. And some words, other words, like must, need, should. These are another words that you should avoid. And words like I can't, I won't, I don't. These words, they trigger negative responses, so we should use them. Words that communicate doubts, uncertainty, and lack of communication, like try, maybe, perhaps, they are not advisable. And here, it seems like there is a challenge communicating here. Something is going on. Sometimes a caregiver may use words that can trigger anxiety, stress, or behaviors of the client with mental health disorder. If the client asks the caregiver to stop the words, caregiver should stop immediately. This is when the client is very anxious or is worried. Same thing is happening here. Okay, now let's talk about communication with others. Good communication is important when we are communicating with others involved in the care of the individual, like family members, doctors, counselors, therapists, other caregivers, and staff. Keep communication with professionals focused on what the individual is doing or not doing. Make sure to emphasize both positive and negative changes in mental status, mood, and behavior. Describe when the behavior starts and when it's most and at least likely to occur. Communicate the desired outcome. What you want the individual to start or stop doing clearly. Be aware of and respect confidentiality. Now we are moving to lesson 7. We are going to talk about boundaries. As you can see here, he's putting boundary around him, the same thing on her. Boundaries, your space, their space, the middle is boundary. Boundary is the space. Boundary is the space between you and the other person. Creating boundaries with our words and actions are very important. Boundaries help you to be clear on what you will allow and not allow in your interaction with others. Boundaries exist in personal relationships as well as professional relationships. Looks like she's an employee. She's doing her boundaries. She's our employees. Professional boundaries creates a healthy relationship, promote good care, and protect both you and the individual with whom you are interacting. Boundary crossing may shift to inappropriate or harmful to the individual. Boundary violations are an act that goes against the law, rule of conduct. Boundary violations are unethical and unprofessional. It explicits the relationship between the caregiver and the individual. It can cause psychological harm to the individual and compromise their ongoing care. Risk of boundary violations. People who have been sexually abused previously may be vulnerable to boundary violation. Individuals with borderline disorders may be a risk for boundary violation. And caregivers who are personally or professionally isolated, under stress, or are unwell are more vulnerable to boundary violations. Let's do some questions. These questions help you to see, are you violating boundary or not? Like question like, am I doing part of my job do this? Am I doing solely in the interest of the individual I'm caring for? Am I doing exploiting the individual for my benefit? Am I secretive? Would I be happy to share my interactions with my spouse, partner, or colleagues? Am I revealing too much about myself or my family? Am I causing me stress, worry, or guilt? Has someone already commented on my behavior or suggested I stop? Setting boundaries is very, very important. Decide when you are setting boundaries, the first thing to do is decide to set boundaries. Boundaries are an extension of love and respect for yourself and others. Define the boundary. Is it physical or emotional? Establish the boundary. Share your boundary with people in your life. Maintain the boundary. You are helping others and yourself by respecting the limit. And be direct. Take care of yourself. Put yourself first by recognizing and honoring your feeling. Okay, now we're going to look at emotional and physical boundaries. Emotional boundaries are like something emotional to you. You have the right to be treated with respect. That's your boundary. You will not be manipulated or forced to do things you do not want to do. You will not allow others to tell you, make you feel bad about who you are or what you are doing or call you names. You do not blame others for things that are your responsibility, and you do not allow others to blame you for things that are not your responsibility. You communicate your own needs assertively and work toward cooperation if possible. Being able to monitor how much you share about yourself so that you respect yourself. Being able to say no at times when you need to be assertive and true to yourself. These are your emotional boundaries. Physical boundaries. When someone intrudes on our physical space, we feel it internally and it feels awkward and unnatural. This is a physical boundary. Different cultures are known to have a different understanding of personal space, distance, and boundaries. It's a violation of physical boundaries to go through another person's belonging without their permission. So you need to approach the person and speak to them. Can I help you? Can I arrange your stuff? Like that, to keep their physical boundaries. The last thing we learned today is assertiveness. There are 3 different ways to relate to one another. As you can see here, the one in the middle is assertive. The one over here is passive, and this one is aggressive. Aggressive is like I win, and passive is like you win, and assertive like both win. Assertive is in the middle. Aggressive is usually the dominance. A person imposes their will onto another person and forces them to submit. The passive is when a person submits to another person's dominance, putting their own wishes and desires aside to fulfill the wishes and desires of the dominant individual. So this is the aggressive one and this is the passive one. When you come to assertive, he's in the middle. He's finding in a middle way between aggressive and positivity. Assertive people defend themselves when someone else attempts to dominate them. Strong people who are capable of aggressive domination attempt, they never act in an aggressive manner. Example, finding a way to demand your right to be respected, while also being polite and civil about it. Okay, seems like we are done. Yeah, these are the references. Thank you very much.